I guess I'm supposed to jump right in. That was so wonderful to hear Jessica and Minjin. I feel very privileged to be here. And we've been asked to just give you a very quick 2-minute introductions to ourselves and especially to our books. In lieu of expressing further gratitude, I'll just jump right in. My name is Charmaine Craig. And the book I'm here to talk about is Miss Burma, which was published in May. It has its roots in my mother's rather epic story. I was raised in this country, but she was born in Burma, the country now known as Myanmar. And she was twice Miss Burma, that's to say, the national beauty queen of that country. And she was very embarrassed about this at the time and for the rest of her life. She also became one of the most celebrated actresses in Burma. And eventually, in her early 20s, she became a woman warrior when her first husband, who was the leader of a minority resistance army, was assassinated, and she made the rather radical decision to assume leadership of his troops. So the book actually begins with her parents' story. They were both born minorities in the country. Her father was a Sephardic Jew. Her mother was from the Karen ethnic group. They're one of Burma's long persecuted indigenous peoples. And they met in 1938 when my grandfather was working as a customs officer in the British service, and he saw a woman at the end of a jetty at the seaport of Akyab with hair down her ankles, and he was a passionate, rather obstinate man. I knew him. He lived in Pasadena at the end of his life, actually. And he determined to marry this woman, though they couldn't speak to one another, which is probably why she agreed to marry him. And theirs was, according to him, a passionate affair. And soon enough, they became jointly involved in sparking the Karen Revolution, a minority resistance revolution, which became the longest-running civil war in recorded history. And that broke out in 1949. My grandfather was immediately disappeared, and she, my grandmother, took their then 4 children and became internally displaced for a long time. That's just a little bit about their story. But it's a story of really of family and love, and of ethnicity, of course. It asks some big questions that have already been sort of alluded to by the other speakers. How much are we subject to history as a sort of blind, impersonal force, and how much can history be made to bow before the stubbornness of anyone who is brave or foolish enough to stand up to it, as my grandparents did. It's also about characters who are seeking meaning, personal meaning, even as they seek justice during appalling times. And those times that are evoked, the novel ends in 1965, but I think it gives a nice kind of a lens through which to see what is going on, not only in Myanmar today in the way of ethnic nationalism, but around the world. Thank you.